This episode is sponsored by SKS Luxury Appliances. If you've spent time around Signature Kitchen Suite, one thing designers notice right away is the technology. The interface feels familiar and intuitive because it's the same engineering that comes from LG, the company that produces the systems used in many of the luxury vehicles people drive today. Clients recognize it instantly and know how to navigate it, but SKS is also investing in designers through their Designer Rewards program and by sponsoring IDC. If you're specifying kitchens for serious cooks, give SKS a look. Learn more at sksappliances.com. SKS, built for people who truly love cooking. Hi, I'm Laurie with To the Trade for Interior Design Community, and I have Nile Johnson with me. Hi, Nile.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
It's St. Patrick's Day, and my husband was like, you should wear green. And I was like, I'm already dressed. I'm not doing it.
I'm not wearing rain because of that, but just be clear.
But you both are in green, and I love the representing. It's so great. Kelly Collier-Clark is here with us. We are so excited. You are such a talented designer. House Beautiful named you what next new designer? I don't know what that is.
Next wave last year.
You next
We
wave
talked about-
designer, and you deserve it. Your work is
Thank you.
so good, and I think you
Thank
should be
you.
so proud of that. I mean, did you just like flip out when you found that out?
I cried. I cried big tears. I literally was at a restaurant and I went to the bathroom and I cried. And then I came back and
Yeah.
told why I was crying.
You know, it's
You
such
probably
a
should have
big
told him
deal to be
before,
recognized.
but what did we do to
Yes.
her?
I love it.
It's
Those
like, I'm
pinch me
okay, but I'm
moments.
not okay. That's what I basically had to come
That's a
back
good
and
reason
tell
to
her.
cry. That's a really good reason to cry.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was a
I'm
big
saying.
honor for sure.
It is a big honor, and it's not, I believe like they were looking at you for obviously the work, but also the messages that you put out there, because you're also very big on confidence and empowering the next generation of designers. And I
Mhm.
read that on your social media all the
Thank
time. I
you.
just love it. I think it was one of the reasons I wanted you on the
Thank you.
podcast, because it really is like a big deal to bring people to recognize like that you can just do this you can do this. You have it in
Mhm.
you to
Mhm.
gain that self-confidence. And it's the self-talk we all tell ourselves, like
Mhm.
we're not good enough, we need to have this and this before we're successful,
Yes.
we don't have the right connections, we aren't in the right area, we aren't. And it's just like constantly telling ourselves these negative things
Mhm.
that actually manifest into being our own lack of success. And
Mhm.
you're right to just own it. Get out there.
It's a lot of fear, I think, that fills people when they're doing something new.
Mhm.
I had a tinge of it myself because I didn't start out in this as my first career choice, but it was something that I loved. I've had people tell me how I miss my calling because, people love to do that,
Yes.
you know, and a lot of times what I became humble enough to understand is that truthfully, people can see things in you sometimes before you see it in yourself. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's like when you hear certain things, you sometimes should reflect in and say, what are they saying that I'm not seeing? Right.
Right.
Just like when I left my corporate job 2 years ago, my coworkers would ask me, like, when are you leaving this place? And I'm like, I'm not leaving. And that wasn't my goal to leave initially. So it's just one of those things on my journey that I've embraced. But I understand that because of my experience and my age, I probably walked into this with more confidence than some newer designers who are younger. So that's the thing. And understanding what your own superpowers are and what transferable skills look like and what they can look like match with some talent. Even if your talent isn't the best or top tier, you work on it and you can perfect that in your own home and just, all those things. And I saw education initially by going to Temple University for their interior design program and paid for mentorship. Put the work in. And that's the other thing I think. It's a scripture that I always say, and this might not be the actual scripture, but faith without works is dead. The truth
Mhm.
is, you can't be out here hoping and wishing on stars and not willing to do any work.
Yes.
So, all of
Yes.
those things are the things that create the confidence. When you put that work in, you should feel like I can do this if you worked your butt off, right?
Right.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when you are in that moment where you are feeling like you need to compare yourself to others, or that someone else has it better than you are, or whatever that might be,
Yeah.
or they have better advantages or better connections, or
Mhm.
whatever that might look at, you have to remember that you are bringing something to the table that
Mhm.
isn't like anyone else.
Mhm.
That can't be duplicated. It's you cannot be duplicated. And
Yeah.
so also design is not the creative part is so
Right.
small compared to the
Right.
work. Like if you are a person who delivers, you're going to have a job in this industry. That's just the way it is.
Yes, and what we all realize here is that we know that some of what you see in the finished product isn't all that we wanted to do or that we can
Sure.
do. It is client
Sure.
driven. If you are
Sure.
a designer who is serving your client and not your own ego, then
Yep.
what the world is seeing is a collaboration of our talent having the ability to bring the client's vision to fruition, which is why I think when we grow to certain levels, we have to refuse certain projects because now we understand, okay, if I want the clients that are more aligned with my aesthetic and what I can do the best, then now I have to start. So projects become a little bit more scarce, which is a whole nother topic, but that's just where I am in
Sure.
my season and I'm okay with it, you know?
Yeah. You have to roll with the business and
Hmm.
with where you want your business to go.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think that it really doesn't get talked about enough, is having strategy. I think everybody
I
hates
love
that word.
it. I'm a business girly first.
I know, I love it too. But I feel like a lot of designers see strategy as calculated, being calculated, or they want it just to feel effortless and not, infiltrating and making. I was watching something the other day and it was about this bikini company in
Hmm.
Australia.
Okay.
And they really, really wanted to get one of the Jenner girls to wear their bikini.
Hmm.
And they were like, there's no way we're going to be able to get in front of her or her people. We're this
Hmm.
small bikini company in Australia. How are we going to do that? So this is the strategy they came up with that I thought was brilliant, was they infiltrated her friends. They found 10 of her
Mm.
best friends and they sent the best friends who have much smaller accounts and are not this huge like superstar 10
Okay.
bikinis each. And her team ended up reaching out to them to ask
Wow.
for bikinis. And of course, they were like, yes. But I think we don't think that way. I think a lot of designers aren't
Yeah.
thinking, how do I infiltrate the circle of the clients that I want? How am I
Mm.
being in the rooms where that kind of thing is happening and my name is being brought up,
Mhm.
and having a strategy to do that? Like, where are the
Yeah.
wealthy people in my area? Where are they hanging out? Who are they friends with? How, what are they doing for hobbies? Where are they, spending time? What do they like to do? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Like really building out that client profile and then acting with strategy to bring in that type of client, you know?
Yeah. And I have to say, the biggest part of for me, the biggest part of strategy is understanding how to make it look effortless and not to, like I'm so tired. I don't know about you too, but I'm so tired of seeing Chat GPT captions up and down this timeline and they all have the same exact words. And I'm like, come on, girls, come on, guys.
They don't know that that it looks bad. I can tell you, that's what I'm noticing is like,
Yeah,
are
let's
you not
edit it.
reading
There
it
it's no
that it looks
editing.
like ChatGPT?
Thing
Because you
is,
can,
the
yeah,
strategy here should be when this tricks to using Chat GPT, like tell Chat
sure,
to put it in your voice. Like there's so many
exactly.
different parts to that. And I'm just analytical by nature. That's my background, right?
Me too.
Analytical business and strategies and planning and all those things. Part of that is sales too, because
Sure.
in real estate, so I've been a realtor for I don't know how many years, probably now 16 years or more. And we have to do ongoing credits just like in design. And part of that training teaches you about your sphere of influence, who your clients are, which they're in Wawa, they're everywhere, right? And how to market yourself without being salesy and all of those things. So yeah, I can talk about strategy all day.
Me too. I love strategy. I love thinking outside the box when it comes to strategy. I like thinking, but I see the same thing. Somebody sent me, I want to say a month ago, an image, and she was kind of annoyed by this other designer
Mhm.
putting an AI image. It was just like it was actually not good. It was like terrible design. It was like as beige gets. It was like she put in a prompt for ChatGPT to give her like absolute garbage and then wrote an AI, very AI comment about the image. And that was her
Oh,
social media post. And this person's like, this is so bad. Can we do, like, why can't we just stop them from doing this? Like, this is just
yeah.
so, it makes our industry look so bad. And I was like, this is
But
hmm?
does it really make our industry look bad? I get on my soapbox about this. I don't think it does. I think you focusing on the wrong things. Like, let them do what they want to do,
Sure.
honestly. Because if you are really doing what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Because I tell my kids this all the time, like, walk in a straight line and look where you're going. Now walk in a straight line and look over there. What happens? And like, oh, I'm going to run into the wall. Exactly. If you just
Exactly.
on your lane and you do the best you can in your lane and you do what you're
Mhm.
supposed to. I don't think what anybody else is doing, that's why they put blinders on horses in the park, like so that they can get to where they've got to go. I don't think what anybody else is doing
Mhm.
matters. If somebody has to use Chat GPT for an image or whatever to make them feel good about what they're going to post, fine. It will all the cream, my professor always used to say the cream rises to the top.
That part.
So
They'll get
I have this nosy Nelly teacher in me, Nile, that I cannot stop. So I
okay.
will message them directly and I'll be like, hey, you're doing this incorrectly. This is how you do it.
But
This
you
is
know
all
what? I can appreciate that, Laurie, because here's the thing. I see both sides with you both
Yeah.
because I think it's something I got to put some respect on the fact that if you're willing to help, great. But the people who are just in the chat talking, don't do that. Because, like
That
you said, Niall, that's their page. Keep scrolling, block, do whatever you have to do. But
yeah.
don't knock them because they might not know. It could be out of ignorance or desperation.
it's
People are
definitely
struggling.
out of ignorance.
So
It
I
doesn't
Yeah.
think,
no one wants to do something
yes,
that makes them look
right. We all
bad.
want AD worthy work to post,
And
right?
Yeah.
just like I said, just like you thought, you see those, AI captions and
Yes.
you and I can spot them like that, quickly,
No, I
but
can't
they don't know
sometimes.
that
I'm
it's
still
bad.
I have
That's
told a
the
couple
problem.
of close friends, I'm like, look, here's just a couple of tips. This is what you want to do. Like
yeah.
remove the emojis, take the hyphens out, like
Yes.
just,
Yes.
ask it to humanize it. And I've even given them like a site. I'm like, there's another site you can use after it goes through ChatGPT. You can copy it from there and you can drop it in this other site that really like to a fault. Like you will have all these because I use Grammarly too. You'll have all
Mhm.
these grammatical errors and all, but it will humanize, like super
Yeah.
humanize what you're writing, and you'll be much more confident posting that than
Mhm.
posting what sounds like a teleprompter script. Like
Yeah.
Right.
so but
Yeah.
I've only done with people that I'm like, I know I'm close with, and
Mhm.
that can hear that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's a struggle because I'm not gonna lie. I was using the hyphens before chat was a thing like
I
that. And so
know.
now
And
I
dashes are
find
like
myself having to like
most writers use
cut
them
some of
dashes
them.
and they can't now.
I just like them. But now I'm like, all right, girl, take some of those hyphens out. Maybe one, maybe one. But I just got finished being on a soapbox with my cousin and who was in business. So we like to strategize a lot together. And I was like, we have to make sure because you can over strategize because you want to use SEO words, right? Friendly words. But now I find myself like, I just want to do my own captions completely. Let me go back to that. That's when my page was growing the most, when I was just showing up, being me, and it felt so relaxed. So now I was like, okay, I'm back out of the chat race.
I feel like most people are. I think what I'm trying to say is I agree with you, Lori. Like people do need help, but I think
They
most
do.
people are sharp enough to pick out the like the sharks from the people who are really being like sly. Like they
Yes.
know. Because I had a feeling, I'm not naming no names, about a certain designer, and I was like, this just seems very opportunistic, and
Mm,
this was years ago. And I recently had a conversation with somebody, and somebody said to me, well, yeah, that honestly, what you're saying, literally, I was somewhere, and that's the feeling amongst almost every designer I ran into. And I was like,
mm,
so people I've learned, and I've learned this about a lot of like people are smart enough, Lori, we've been in rooms. They're
mhm.
very smart enough to, know like who's being genuine and like
Mm,
struggling and just really trying to make it, and who is really like that fox in the hen house, like is just
yes.
super calculating and you
Just
just
wanna be
can't.
seen.
Yeah, be friends with you if you can raise their profile
Yeah,
some way.
exactly.
Yes. Yes.
You can't do anything for
And
them. They're like,
clients see it too. I think and the other thing is that one of the things so I have a mentor program behind the scenes that I'm in my last cohort of, and it's been very small on purpose. But the one of the things I always tell people in that group is show up as yourself because clients are going to buy into you much faster than your service. It's a million of us. So what makes they have to go to what makes them choose? I did a study on how people purchase wine based on the label. If it's Moscato, that's what they're looking for. But then they drill down to what label looks the cutest for my girls' night or what looks the best and most elegant for this gift. So when people are looking for a designer, they're in our stories. I've been to consultations and people have referenced my honeymoon location and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did go there." And it's just like cuz I shared it, right? They were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I was waiting for you to come back."
I love
I
it.
love that for us.
wait, no, that's so
You know,
true.
I agree with you 1,000%. We are doing I am running the conference for Design Edge, which Nile is also a part of,
Oh,
and we
nice.
are doing Orlando next. It's next week. So
I saw
we're really
that.
busy this week. But we are one of the things we're doing is how to make viral videos. And I say that that's the title because I want people to sit there and listen. And I'm not going to do it as like a normal panel that I've been on a million times because I'm like,
Mm,
I just don't believe that people in the audience are gonna have the confidence to go out and do it. So what we're gonna
mhm.
do is use it as a workshop time and literally get them to download the app, get them to
Fun.
show like, to make a script, figure it out, and then we're gonna send them out on the show floor because it's a very small show floor with, like, 80 brands. It's a very quiet show, and go make video content right there at the show. I'm so excited about it because I'm like, they all can do it,
Yeah.
and I know they're feeling like, "I don't need another job on my already big job. I don't wanna be on camera. I don't. I'm embarrassed. I don't wanna be a part of
Yeah.
this." And I'm always telling them, "Look, like, people buy from people they like, know, and trust. You cannot farm that
That's
out to
so
a social
true.
media person.
No.
They want to know you. They wanna know that they can trust you with their money.
Yeah.
They wanna know how your process works. They wanna know what style you have, what you love,
Yeah.
what you don't love."
Yeah.
You might have someone who follows you for, like, 4 years who decides that now they have the budget to work with
It's
you, you know?
literally I'm
Yeah,
sorry, it's literally like a dating app almost, if you
it
think
is.
about it like that. People are and they're not trying to be creepy or stalkerish, but they're gonna be giving you thousands of dollars to manage, right? So when
Right.
you think about it like that, that's why now I've started taking up residency over there on LinkedIn because I realized that that's where my former coworkers are who are the busy professional clients and, you know, the football player management companies, just whatever your goals are, and that's not necessarily a goal, but I
Well,
would
you
love
can
it,
use
you
an
know?
app. I use, Metricool,
Mhm,
but there are others, and you can
mhm,
download their app, and you can make your video content go to LinkedIn, TikTok, like, all of the
mhm,
apps at the
mhm.
same time, so
Yeah,
you're not spending time repurposing it all the time, but
yep,
and there's one called Repurpose.io for video content that will kinda do it automatically where you don't have to
mhm,
really think about it.
mhm.
But, saving yourself some time, but getting these little videos and they really don't need to be long. They're like a
No,
minute.
no, they don't, and being
Yeah.
on what do you both think about being on YouTube? Because I was pleasantly surprised when I
Okay.
saw that your podcast was on YouTube, and I was just
So,
curious.
I have big feelings about YouTube. I wanna tell everyone, if you're listening, do you care about search engines? Like, do you wanna come up in the search engine? Does that matter to you?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody should care
Who
about that.
doesn't? What are we doing if we don't wanna come up in the
That's the
search?
For
first.
years and years, as long as we originally interior design community, you probably don't know, started on Google Plus, and the reason
Okay,
it
I didn't
started
know
on
that.
Google Plus was because back then when Google Plus was a thing, it's owned by Google,
Okay.
and Google owned search, and if you put any link into Google Plus, it indexed it automatically quickly, like within
Hmm,
seconds.
nice.
It also had this whole thing where they were building an authorship thing so that your photo would show up next to all of your writing. So
Mhm.
I was building that from an SEO. The reason I built the community first on Google Plus was because it was the best for SEO back then.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was so good.
it
Well,
was awesome.
YouTube is still owned by Google. And right now, the AI race, if you're looking at all of the different companies, ChatGPT, Perplexity,
Mhm.
Claude, and then of course Google's app, Gemini, Google is winning because
Mm.
they are on our phones and this is how we search. And so
So
they are
true.
from a traffic standpoint, Gemini is the biggest as far as AI is concerned.
Mm.
And they definitely are winning in the image creation through Nana Banana. So a
Mhm.
lot of that is integrating into Apple products, it's integrating into Photoshop. So it's
Nice.
really going to be the winner, I think,
Okay.
out of the AI race.
Okay.
And YouTube Shorts are definitely impacting AI search. So if you're looking on ChatGPT or if you're looking on Perplexity,
Mhm.
a lot of those search results are being pulled from YouTube results. And so if you can take your
Interesting.
blog post or if you can take how to do this or how to do that or anything you can think of as question answer and you can make a short video about it and you can put that on YouTube Shorts. And again, you can use repurpose IO to send it to YouTube Shorts and to TikTok and to your Facebook page and to
Interesting.
Instagram.
Love it.
You are actually feeding the AI
It's
algorithm.
a game changer.
So I'm huge about it. I'm really going to be very bullish on YouTube Shorts this next year. I'm going to be putting a lot of content on there. I'm going to be repurposing
Okay.
our blog posts into YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
I'm going to be creating short voice only videos that we have just image backgrounds
Mhm.
that have good questions and answers for designers in all levels.
Okay.
Um, because I know it's going to impact my SEO. That's
Love it.
really
I
and my
love it.
GEO, whatever for AI. So that is the game for me.
It'd be great.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
start and find out. I want to know more about your business. You said design was not your first career. What was your first career and how did you get in?
Oh, I had about 3 careers. I did and let me see, where did I even start? Okay. I started out in corporate America, right? While I was in college and then pivoted and went to cosmetology school, right? Got married young. I'm telling my whole life story, but got married young and then figured out that I wanted to go back to work because I felt like being an entrepreneur for both parents wasn't a good idea. So I would be the one to go back to work and be like a little soccer mom. So I did that for a little while and then realized I'm not wired to just do one thing. So I went to real estate school because after purchasing my first home at like 22 and realizing the realtor was the owner's sister, I was just like, I got gagged. So I'm never going to let anybody else get gagged the way
Uh,
I did. So I had a passion there for helping people. So innately, that's where my career started wanting to be of service to other people beyond a corporate company. Right. And so for years, I worked my way up in the corporate ladder in the energy industry. And that's the career that I retired early from 2 years ago and I was there for a little short of 20 years. And it was amazing. I mean, I loved what I did, pretty much managed high profile clients. I had all the hospitals for the Pico territory.
Wow.
So I loved it. But what I realized was that it prepared me for this. It definitely
Wow.
prepared me for all the things relationship building, strategic planning, managing projects from the ground up, right? Always, a lot of times being the only girl, the only Black girl, like all the things that I
Yeah.
experienced when I came into the industry, I noticed immediately. And I was like, here we go. Where do I start dismantling some of this drama in my little corner of the universe, right? Kind of show up in a way that maybe will inspire a couple people along the way, you know? And I prayed and I asked God to use me to help people doing something that I love because I always had an innate love for interiors as a little girl. My grandmother's home, we had oriental rugs, marble tables, you don't touch, you don't put stuff on. There probably was plastic on the sofa at one point,
yep.
right, in my mom's house that you didn't wanna sit on in the summer unless that air was on.
Sure.
And custom drapery was probably JCPenney, but it was custom drapery and upholstery and things that I got to witness that for me felt like the norm. And it was like, so in my home, it might have looked like overpriced Bloomingdale's furniture when I didn't know any better, right? Or certain things that I just knew it looked nice, glass tables, things like that. So fast forward, once I realized, okay, my daughter's going to college. Now I have time to do something I want to do
For yourself.
for me, right?
Yeah.
And divorced, single, dating, it was like, okay, it's just literally me. So that's when I just literally fell in love with this whole entire industry and realized I could actually step into a whole new world and figured it all out. And here we are.
I have to say, when you're telling me this story, I just instantly think of the word bravery. I mean, that is brave to do. I mean, it's
Okay.
scary to try something new. It's scary to try something new, when you're older because you know the risks. I feel like
What?
the older you are, the harder it is to
I'm
be like,
scared to
I don't want to
death.
risk my money for one day.
Scared to death. You hear me? And thinking about walking away from something you put so much into to build and it was easy, right? Because we're taught go get the six-figure job, work smarter, not harder, right? So I
Sure.
was literally, I think, well, my blood pressure was up from having the stress of managing both, right? So just fully transparent, I sat home for like a summer trying to figure out, I was fearful. Like, why am I so afraid? Because I've never been afraid to do anything. And I wrestled with that. And finally, I just took the leap because I was like, it's no way to prepare for this. I'm 40 something years old. What do I have to lose? I can go back to a job, right?
Right.
And that
Right.
and that was really where I was. But then I cried the next day after my last day of work because I was like, what did I do?
I know but you had to be a little bit like, oh my gosh, now
I
I'm
was
like, the pressure is
it
on.
was like, girl, and you just got remarried. What is my husband really thinking about me right now?
Out.
Because I don't know if I would have been that supportive. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would have been like, you want to do what?
Right?
You
Who did
want
I
to
just marry?
we just got this house, you want to quit your job? But
My.
but truthfully, he believed in me. So I appreciate that. And he said, "You know what? I know that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it." And I was like, "Okay." So I had his buy-in and yeah. So that helped.
That does help. That does help.
Mhm.
What do you think? Just in your telling your story, I have something that I've talked to Nile about. We're going to probably do a whole show on this because I was sitting at a trade show at BDMY, and there was a woman next to us who was a Black interior designer, and she had someone next to her who literally the entire time was asking questions about the Black experience. And I was just thinking,
Mhm.
like, and I've had a million designers who, I mean, I have supported people of color in this industry for years and years and years. I've
Mhm.
really, like, even in micro ways, like, I don't know if you know, but intentionally, I,
See
on
it.
my memes, make sure they're different colored people
Yeah,
and
yeah,
make
Mhm.
sure
yeah,
they're
yeah.
different,
I see
they're
it.
different, ethnicities and races. I just want it to be very, like,
It's
you see
yeah.
it, you are it, it's cool. We all need to be accepting of everyone. But I also, in part of that, have and there believe me, the industry has come a long way. When I first went to High Point, it was very, very white. There are a lot, it's so night and day different now than it was, but it still feels sometimes like people get opportunities because of their ethnicity
Mhm.
instead of like they're just amazing and they're so cool and they're doing cool things and I love that and that's part of the experience. And this particular designer was kind of frustrated with that and
Mhm.
was feeling like I want to walk into a room where I'm an interior designer, not a Black interior designer. And I was like, that is totally fair. I mean, that is something that we
Mhm.
don't talk about enough,
Mhm.
and it shouldn't just be defined by whatever ethnicity you are, like the Asian interior designer, the Black interior designer, but at
Right.
the same time, that is part of an identity that comes with struggle. So, like, and has its own challenges and
Yeah.
has its own issues because racism still exists.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
And we can't pretend it doesn't. We can't like live in a world. I mean, certainly not now. We can't pretend it doesn't
For
exist.
sure.
And there are safeguards to protect people who need to have a feeling of safety
Yeah.
when dealing with clients or with dealing with trades or when
Mhm.
dealing with other people in a world where racism exists. And I know I'm probably the absolute wrong person to be bringing this content up
No, it's
because,
important to talk about.
but it's
Yeah.
something I think about and something that I want to change so that people do feel like they're just a designer, not they're a Black interior designer. They're a Mexican doctor. They're a,
Yeah.
you know, Asian, mother.
Yeah.
They are just a mom, just like
Yeah.
everybody else. But at the same time, protecting the safety aspect because racism is real.
It is. It's such a broad topic, but as it relates to this conversation, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I appreciate you bringing it up. It is a part of our narrative, but we lead with our color. You can't change that. So when you walk into a showroom at High Point, for example, and you have a badge on and you're in a group, there have been instances where sometimes I don't know if it's on purpose or not. It's probably something that people don't think about in these showrooms. I don't know what kind of training or diversity training is given to showroom people who work in the showrooms, but there are certain things I've noticed because I'm very observant. And you can't dwell there. All you can do is speak up for yourself and say, we all come from different companies. We all own our own companies, and you need to
True.
sketch all of our badges. Thank you. And that's it.
Because I think what happened, and I agree, because I think what happens is the moment it would be lovely, right? It would be wonderful if we could live in that utopia where it's like, we're all just designers, we're all just doctors, we're all just lawyers. But the
Hmm.
problem is the moment you fall into that, somebody reminds you on the outside reminds you that no, 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 you're different. Because I mean, I just literally went to the bank, a bank that I've been banking with years. And the first years I walked a check in, I walked a client fee in, and it was a substantial amount. And I walked it in and I deposited it. Now, in all the years, 4 or 5 years that I've been with this bank, they have never put a hold on any, and I always deposit through the ATM, so they never see me, right? They saw me
Hmm.
one the account. And when I opened the account, the manager was Muslim, I believe, and the other person that was working with me was African American, right?
Hmm.
So I walked I walked this check in, and the person that took the check was white.
Hmm.
I don't find out for 2 or 3 days, oh, there's a hold. There's a hold on the check. They want to make sure. They just wanted to verify that the check was good. And it's for your safety. And I just said, okay. Like it's where you're like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm walking into the bank like, good morning, how are you? Because it's my neighborhood bank, right? How's
Right.
it
Right.
going? I'm feeling really good. I'm gonna go get a coffee afterwards, and I'm gonna go do my, like I'm feeling good, right?
Hmm.
And then later it's like, oh, there's that reminder. There you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
Right.
There's that reminder. So I think, I would love, and I hear what that designer's saying, like she doesn't want that, and I get that, but sometimes even when you try to like lift it off of yourself, somebody just says, no, here you go. This is yours. This
Hmm.
belongs to you.
Hmm.
This for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
We you. And honestly, too, Lori, on the other side of it, I have clients that call and will say to me, I was specifically looking for a
I was
black
going to say
interior
that. Yep.
designer.
I've had
So
that happen.
even
Mhm.
in that, I still have to make sure that I'm identifying, even in my marketing, like even in my SEO, I still have to. So it's even with that, you can't really, like you said, Kelly, first of all, it's who we are. We can't change it, right? That's what
Mhm.
we lead. But even in marketing and then even in areas
Mhm.
where people are going to tell you for good, bad, or indifferent, that's who you are. That's who you are,
Yeah.
and that's what I believe your place is. So
And yeah, I
crazy.
love it. And one of the things that just came to my mind is that people talk about white privilege, right? But there are sometimes black privilege. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because I was raised in the Northeast Philadelphia back in the days where I was the only black girl in my classroom in Catholic school. My mother was a black police officer who was a woman who worked in the captain squad as the only black police officer. And so there were all of these onlys, but to me, it was a privilege, right? And so if I got pulled over by the police, for example, this was way before Sandra Bland happened and things like that. I was able to say, well, my mom's a police officer and da da da. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And then I just get to keep on driving. So I was raised probably with a false narrative. Let me just say that. Right. And so when I built my way up through corporate America, was I cognizant of the fact that, if you get a job, you could be filling a double minority and that is an advantage? Was I going to get on a soapbox and complain about that? Hell no. Why would I?
Right.
Right? I mean, is it gonna make me feel bad for other people? No, because I know that I'm qualified. Now, why they choose to choose me is on them. But ultimately, I also give the credit to God first and foremost on why he picks and chooses us for certain things. So I think that it's one of those touchy things where, do I ever use the hashtag Black Interior Designer? Yeah, sometimes, but not always. Cause I don't have to lead with that. It's on my face. Like
Right.
I don't have to tag it.
Well, Kelly, just to piggyback on what you said, because it just the light bulb went off. You make a really great point. Yeah. So if you go walk through the door, if you get through the door because of your complexion, or you get the door because of your ethnicity, your race, that's great. That got you in the door. That got you a seat at the table. But you still have to perform.
That part.
And
Absolutely.
that's the performance is what
Yes.
keeps. And I think people are very mistaken about that. They think
Yeah.
that if you get an opportunity because you are a Black designer, that the opportunity stays with you because you're a Black designer. It doesn't. You might
Mm-mm.
get through the door because of that,
Mm.
right? But once you're outside of the door, now it's go time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's like it becomes a good thing because maybe you wouldn't have gotten through the door, right? But
Mhm.
now you're through the door and you have to perform. And if you don't, then you're out.
That's
Then you're
right.
out.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's this industry. And I know there are a lot of smoke and mirrors, but there's
Yeah.
like for me, I do a little research every time I look at anyone for the podcast or whatever.
Yes.
So I look at portfolios. I
Yeah.
look at social media. I look at
Right.
it and I know
You know who's
when
showing up.
I know when it's not real. I know
Yeah.
when it's like you've got a million followers, but you don't have any portfolio images on your website. You're not an
And
interior and that's
yeah.
okay, like, you're an influencer, but you're not an interior
Yeah.
designer. I wouldn't if
Yes.
I were a client, I wouldn't hire you,
And I mean,
you
I've seen you tell everybody black, white, purple, pink, purple. Like, what are you going to talk? Like, you want to what? What are you going to talk about? What do you have to say? Like, is there
Yes.
anything
What's
important?
your point of view?
I know, shocks Nile, but I'm kind of, like, not like, I'm impressed easily, I think, but I'm not one that,
But
you
if you're trying to
know
pull one over on her, she's like, no.
No.
You're not just coming to High Point and sitting on a panel to do
Yeah.
what? What do you want to say? Like, what are you?
No, that's real. That's real. You have to, because it's, I call it a spirit of discernment because you already see it. And so when people come in my DM and asking me about, I don't know, let's say about a brand partnership I had, and I'm like, well, what exactly are you trying to get? So I can make sure if I'm giving you a contact that is for the right reason, do you want to partner with them as well? Or do you want to know how I did it? Do you want to know why I went to that particular conference? Like, help me help you. But I think what
Yeah,
it does is it puts it back on them to come back correctly because don't come in here with the smoke and mirrors because I
yes,
see you.
yes. Honestly, the thing that I am kind of like I 50-50 on it because I do
Hmm.
think there are PR agencies that do a great job for their client and they're thinking big picture. And if you
Hmm.
can afford it and it's a long term game for
Yeah.
you, great. But I get I want to say 5 or 6 PR requests to be on the podcast
Hmm.
every week. And
Hmm.
usually they start, they're so like ChatGPT, it's not even funny. They're like, I recently saw your podcast, this. And that's exactly why I think my client, this should be on your podcast. This is blah, blah, blah about them. And it's just
Wow.
very like, it's formulaic. Like, I just
Yeah.
think it's a formula that I find very off putting because I don't care about
Hmm.
your client. I would much rather a person reach out to me directly and say, "Hey, I listened to your podcast and
Yeah.
or I love your content and I think you're helping a lot of interior designers and I want
Mhm.
to do that too." Like if
Mhm.
your mission and my mission match,
Mhm.
like that's the first check for me. The second check is what do you have to say? Like
I
what
know. What is
you
your
want to
point of
teach
view?
them? What is it that you want to talk about? Because I feel like the audience listening is the most important person in the room
It
always
is.
for us, the community.
Yeah.
And they have to have takeaways that are real. Like if I was just on here, just, boosting somebody up that I really didn't believe in, and
Yeah.
I've turned down businesses that I'm like, your business doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't care what other podcasts you're on. If you've been only design I had a designer and I feel bad calling her out because I don't know if she's listening, but she was like, I do design only. It was a really weird business model. I was like, there's no way this makes any money. Like, there's just no way. Like, how many clients would you have to have a week?
Which
Yeah.
she does wait, design only?
Yeah, and in a
So
weird
just the
way. I
concept?
wanted I mean, if I told you exactly what she said step by step on how she does it, I
Okay.
you would be like, "What?"
No, I okay, but she doesn't so she doesn't execute. She doesn't
At
execute.
all.
You know,
Nope. I mean, there's something for that, but I mean, it's also
is
I mean,
it
is
it's
just
it
hard.
e-design? Because even e-design, maybe, I don't know.
it was she literally goes to their house and puts tape down where the furniture would be instead of doing any space planning. It's just a weird business model, and I was like,
It's like
"That
a seems like an all-in-one.
I don't think that there's any money in that." Like, I
Yeah, I
just
don't
don't think
know how
there's
much,
I'm like, "Where's the money in that?"
because how much are they paying for the consultation and the
Yeah, how
design
much are they paying for the
concept
consultation?
and the
I couldn't get
links
any money
for them to go
money
execute it?
words out of it, and I was just like, "This doesn't make any sense to me." I
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
don't know.
know.
You
I don't
know,
know.
I really do take it as you know, from the I think when I first started, the thing was, like, there were lots of, like, "Oh, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this to be
Mhm,
successful," and a
mhm,
lot of them came with price tags and money exchanges, and so I always felt like and people like that often wanna be on podcasts or whatever,
mhm,
but the thing is, like, that is Nile and I saying, "You should spend your money on this." Like, so I
mhm,
have to really
mhm.
believe that that could have results for someone,
Yeah.
or I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
have,
Or saying like
justifiably have them on.
so we're saying this person is somebody you can learn from. There's what they're saying, is, factual. We feel like you can learn.
mhm,
Accurate and
Yeah.
mhm,
They
this is
are
a
the proof in the pudding, you know what I mean?
positive business
mhm.
model, and
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's somebody in that audience that is, like, listening and
Yes,
probably
Oh
wants to
my God.
implement the same thing, and
truly.
that has a huge weight of responsibility.
It is. I mean, some years ago, I had a podcast for 2 years. I used to literally sit in my closet and record with designers, and it was fun because it was born out of the pandemic when we were all on lockdown and everybody was doing collaborative IGTV conversations, right? And then but I would have people say things to me like, "Oh, you never asked me to be on your podcast. I didn't get." But it's like, "Did you say you wanted to be on it?" Because it really was like you could definitely have been a guest. And it was literally designers I probably already had relationships with. And there's that piece, relationship building. And it's like, so it was really organic. It was only probably a couple of people like Joy Moyler, for example, who I admire to death, who I had to get the courage up to ask, right, to
And
be
she
on
said,
the
sure.
podcast, and she graced me with her presence, and I was like, she
Oh.
said yes. So it's those fangirl moments, but I mean, it was fun, but I stopped that a while ago, obviously, because there was some brand confusion happening, and I was like, so for me, and just because you can do a lot of things doesn't mean you should. So I just figured that out really quickly. It wasn't polished. It wasn't what it probably should be like this. And I was like, no, so I can't continue to do something that's not 100, that's not the right way I felt. But it was
Yeah.
fun while it lasted. But I understand your point about you do want to talk to people who are doing the work and who make sense and who other people can learn from because they have a point of view and they're sharing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly if they are the type of person too who really wants to give back,
Yes.
and get other people to, I can sense when someone doesn't
Yeah.
want to be that kind of like team player that helps the
No.
next generation of designers
Yeah.
and those who really do care, like just care, in their heart,
Even about
and want to
fees.
give
Those
back.
conversations, we can have all the conversations because somebody has to talk about it. And we now, I don't know about you and what you share in your stories, but I do catch a lot of your content. I don't, but I feel like sometimes we stifle ourselves with talking about fees and certain things because our clients are there. But on platforms such as this, hey, if they catch it, they catch it. But right here, this is for the community.
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to talk about fees, we're going to talk about fees or firing a
Yeah.
client or all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had a conversation. I put a conversation out this morning about what I think is like should be the minimum because we have
Hmm.
done panels, we've done
Hmm.
conversations, and I've made it no secret. I think like there should not be any designer under $100 an hour in any part of the country, like in the smallest rural
Not in this
town
lifetime.
possible. In fact, I'd really like it to be 150 if I could wave a magic wand.
Mhm.
I could get in trouble for price fixing as a nonprofit, so I try to stay away from, like, this is just my personal opinion. This
Right.
isn't like I want, but I feel like designers are always, not always. I think there are designers who are starting out and they are pricing based on their old hourly rate
Mhm.
and a best case scenario situation. So they
Mhm.
are hoping the project goes 100% perfectly and there are no snags that they're trying to recover. And the reality is that's not any project.
No.
They're really trying to get the job. They're really trying to get the
They're
job.
trying to get the
Yeah.
job. If you're younger and you really want those portfolio images and you work from your home, you can sell yourself
Mhm.
on a low fee. And then I also give a lot of grace to the designers because it's kind of unfair to them because there aren't any designers that are listing what their pricing is online. So
Mm.
it's not like a product. Like if I were out selling lamps, I could go out and look at what all the lamps are priced at and what quality of my lamps are going to be and where I should be compared to my competitors. And
Mhm.
in design, it's really hard. You can't do that. You just have to
I know.
like
It is.
I
guess.
put mine out there at your advice, and I'm like, literally the other day, I was biting my nails, like, oh my god, I was the right. I mean, I've gotten a client or two since then, but and which is good because I will say to you, and I meant to tell you this too, it's good because when they go through that inquiry, they've already seen it, so there should be no quabble about
Mhm.
pricing. Still, I'm like, I
It's
was
so
getting
scary.
eight
So
to ten inquiries a month, and I'm not getting that anymore.
is that because your fees now, are they on your website or in your inquiry form?
They're on the website. They
Okay.
are on the site, and like and it's not exact. I mean, it tells you like it gives you a range. It'll say like
30.
if you're doing design only, it will start at this. But it
Mhm.
also tells you, like your budget should start at this. If you're doing full design, we start full
Mhm.
design at this, and the fee starts at this. So it's there. It's out there.
Okay. Okay.
So, and I would rather you, to be honest, I would rather you go and see that and
Right.
say, "I'm not interested," than to, reach out to me, have me get invested because I get hooked real quick. Like I like you.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
then I send you the proposal, and then I'm sitting here like, and then I'm emailing you like 30 times, like, so what you think? What you think? What you think? And so I would rather
Mhm.
you be like,
Mhm.
I don't want to, no, I don't have 25 to invest, and that's okay. I'm good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, speaking of something, I want to just tie this in with something that was said earlier about how certain things can do the industry an injustice. I do think that lowballing yourself can do us all an injustice
yeah.
because that mentality of I can't charge this because I'm new. How long are you going to lead with it? Because guess what? After 90 days, probation is over. And what are we doing? If you went to school, if you did the work and you started a whole business, I mean, if your work is speaking for you and all of these things, your procurement process isn't going to be any different than the designer that's in AD, right? It's probably going to be harder and more work because you're still newer. So that's the thing where I think why we should not be afraid to talk about money because I think it's an essential luxury, right? But it is a luxury service. People don't have to have it, but some people need it, right? Some people it's sweet. I know you've all experienced going into someone's home and feeling like it's an episode of Iyanla Fix My Life because they need to purge, like
Yeah.
before we can even start. But what feels good is when you go back, it's exactly how you left it. And these people really, like, you've really changed their life. So it's like so many components to this. I'm passionate about it because the price is the price, but we have to be able to own that and then tell the clients why it's gonna be
I
worth
wanna
it.
extend that out to also your
Mhm,
friends and family. Like, I had a designer who came to me in Vegas, and she's like, "I've been doing pretty much low, low, low cost or free projects for the first few years while I get more
mhm.
portfolio. Is it time that I don't?" I was like, "It's not only time that you don't, you should not have done that ever."
Stop it
You
right
should not
now.
have done that even if your friends and family love you, they should pay you. My
Yeah.
sister has a tea room, and if I wanted to throw a party at a tea party, I'm paying, like, for the tea, like, whatever that costs for
Mhm.
the tea. I don't want my sister to go out of business because
Right.
she's giving me a deal. Like, I don't do that. If we go to her restaurant, our family, anyone at my kids, any of them, they're
Yeah.
paying. They're paying the full price
Yeah.
for whatever they order because we want my sister's business to be successful.
Mhm.
That's what it costs,
Yeah.
and that's what she's priced it at so that
Yeah.
she can make a living and pay her bills, and I don't want my friends or my family
Mhm.
not to be able to pay their mortgage. I want them to be able to pay their mortgage too,
Right.
and so you shouldn't discount. I
No.
really don't think you should even discount for your friends and family.
No.
Your time is worth what it's worth.
It's true. I mean, and here's the thing, at your big box places like West Elm Restoration Hardware, where you can get free design service, right? But they are selling furniture. They're not
Right.
in the business of design. So I'm
It's
not
not
going to take
design. Let's just
anything.
say that too. Free design is not design. I just
Yeah,
want it's
it's
not space planning. It's not really thinking about the person. It's
it's not
selling
personal.
furniture. I
And it's
wish
not
we'd
even
call it what
free.
it is. It's being a furniture salesperson.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's not
That's what it
really.
is.
They
I mean,
say
it's
that
really,
they advertise it though.
I
yeah,
know.
it's not even free. It's in the cost of the, I mean, it's in the cost of the furniture because the furniture is
Right.
already overpriced. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
you're going to buy a PB Grand sectional for
Yeah.
$10 when it's really only worth about 2,500. You've not only paid for my design time, you paid for my whole shift. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Right.
Roll for the night. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
it's
such
not
I
really.
do feel like that is the wonderful thing about that, and is that it's so easy to sell against that, right? It's so easy as a designer to say, look, you can, if you have restoration hardware money, here's 3 sofas that I would pick instead. And I'm telling you,
Mhm.
those sofas are going to last 20 years, and your restoration hardware sofa is probably like 3.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you're spending money on marketing. You're not spending money on the quality that goes inside that sofa. I'm going to tell you about how this is made and these 3 products, and you could do business.
Mhm.
You could do content like that every single day, and
Mhm.
you're going to be attracting the right kind of client. The person who has the money to buy a restoration hardware sofa is a client that could be an interior design client all day long. And
That's
you
right.
can actually service them with a better product for real.
Yes.
So it should be like shooting fish in a barrel, I think, for a designer.
It's true. The
It's
whole
great
and the
content, it's
whole
the right client,
Mhm.
and you're really telling them the truth.
It is. And the
You know,
the
this is
whole
crap stuff. Like, this is
Yeah, yeah.
literally garbage. I know reupholsterers who will not reupholster restoration hardware furniture because if you open it up,
Wow.
like, and it smells so awful.
I had no
The
idea.
inside,
Wow.
it is junk, like junk, in my
No.
opinion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you kinda know, you know, because some people just don't know any better. But this is why we're here to educate clients.
And restoration
Absolutely.
is a machine, and they're really good at marketing a luxury feel and look,
Mhm.
and so unfortunately, for the pub, and they started out honestly as a really back
They
in the day
did.
as a really good hardware brand. Like their hardware was,
Mm.
the stuff. And so now people, if you know about them from way back in the day, maybe you're still buying into that, or if you just buy into their marketing, you're like, wow, I want to be a part of that. And like you said, if you
Mhm.
don't know, you don't. So.
Yeah.
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 But I do also think that it's such a blessing that interior designers have automatic authority
Mhm.
built in. Like, if I'm watching
Mhm.
a video and I see I'm an interior designer and these are 3 of my picks for sofa brands that you probably never heard of that are amazing quality, I'm
Mhm.
listening to that, paying attention to that. That's automatic authority. They already have got me.
Everybody's not.
It's like a
That's
doctor
true.
coming on and being like, "I'm a doctor. Here's 3 things you can do for your skincare. I'm a plastic surgeon, and buy these 3
I see,
creams." I'm
but
like,
let me just say, I
"Already
see why
ordering.
you
I'm
2
doing it."
are a duo. I see why you 2 are doing this podcast together because both of you are not having it with certain things. Because while you're
No,
No.
talking, I was like, no, not everybody.
everybody's not. No, they're not. I mean, I
And
had a
Laurie's
client.
like, I'm DMing you because I'm gonna call you on your stuff. I love y'all.
I had a client in Gladwin, and I was like, "Oh, we're about like I'm going through the gate." I'm like, "Oh, we're about to spend some money," and we get in there. She's like, she's got 3 RH catalogs stacked, and
Stop.
I'm like,
Ugh.
I was like, oh, I'm thinking like, okay, this must be for the fire, or like this must be for the and she's like, she's sitting down. She's like, let's go through these, and not only let's go through these and
Yes.
what I want to get. Let's go through these and figure out what we should get and how we can strategize. We're going to
Mm.
tell RH that bought this infamous, because it was like an infamous house in Gladwin, bought this infamous property, and if they furnish it for us for free, they can photograph. And I said, first of all, I think, RH is not short on,
No, props.
they're not short on mark. Like, they're fine, and you don't want this stuff. But she was adamant. She's like, this is what I want. So it's like she could care less what I thought. She could care.
But she hired you?
And that's what she said too. I said, well, and the other thing that I want to talk to you about is the function of, where you're moving and where you're coming from and where you're moving to. I think your functionality you have a beautiful home. I think maybe we just renovate what you're buying. I think just not, I don't need you to think about my functionality. I just need you to execute.
What?
We did not let,
So
we did not let.
Yeah, she wanted a decorator, not a designer, I feel.
Yeah, she wanted to be the decorator.
Or an
and she just wanted-
assistant.
What an assistant. Just buy these things and go pitch to Restoration Hardware.
Yeah.
That'd be free.
Exactly. So
Wow.
we didn't listen. It's nice when they listen, but they don't always. They don't
No.
always.
They don't.
I will say that most people are definitely thinking like automatic authority and content that is by an authority figure has better success.
Yeah.
If you're
In
a
most
doctor,
cases, yes. Yeah.
I think it will do it. But you're right. There are going to be people who are complete idiots. What I would have done, Nile, just for funsies, just because I'm so stubborn, is I would have gone to Facebook Marketplace. I would have found the Restoration Hardware piece of furniture, and I would come out, put it on her driveway, and I'd be like, look, I'm going to show you what the quality is. I would take a chainsaw and I would chainsaw that thing right in front of her, open it up and be like, that's what you want to buy? That's what you want?
No.
Go for
Now,
it.
the next time I go to the rooftop to eat at Restoration Hardware in New York, I'll be thinking about you both when I'm walking.
But wait a minute. No, don't. It's one of my favorite places to go. Now,
It is a really great restaurant.
They do. The burger is good.
I think it was me, Rashida, and it was a couple others that went. And we went and had lunch. Now, we had talked trash about the furniture. We are just fine eating on the rooftop. Just fine eating on the rooftop.
It's great for
the food is excellent. The restaurant is so good.
Yeah.
I am with you. I'm definitely with you there.
Yeah.
Don't mistake that at all. Okay.
Well, this has been so great, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been fabulous. And we're going to make sure all of our members learn about where they can find you, follow you, and be a part of your world too.
Thank you. I had a ball with you both. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Curry & Company. Designers, you know the moment. You walk into the room and the lighting stops you in your tracks. Chances are it might be Curry. Curry & Company has built its reputation on pieces that feel sculptural, collected, and timeless, from hand-finished chandeliers to statement lamps, furniture, and accessories. Their collection is top-notch. If you haven't explored their newest introductions, take a look. Visit curryandcompany.com,